everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera passions. I'm your regular host, Latara, back today with Uche. Woo! Yay!
Yay, yay!
Welcome back, Uche. Sorry I couldn't give you the regular round of applause. I don't have my soundboard with me because, as many of you may notice if you're watching, I'm in a different place. I'm at my dad's house, and I didn't want to pack that whole mixer, so I'm packing light today. But I downloaded like a digital mixer before we started, so I have like a couple of sounds in there. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Whatever. All right, but welcome. Thank you, Uche, for coming back. How you been?
I've been good. It's been, enjoying the fall, doing a lot of fall activities like a basic fall girly.
Love it.
But it's been really nice, and I'm going to be enjoying this holiday week and then get ready to, turn over to Christmas because the time has arrived, unlike some of my friends who put their tree up at November 1st, which
I don't blame them. And you know what? In the world we live in now, like I refuse to yuck anybody's yum if they're trying to just
find some joy.
Yeah, squeeze the tiniest bit of joy out of anything. Like I'm gonna please find what joy you can find in
100%.
The world that we live in right now, because my God.
100%. It has been an interesting November. And I truthfully was like, well, I'm going to enjoy fall because it's my favorite season.
Same.
And I am going to just live it. Like you guys can see if you're watching, I've got my Halloween lights still on. I got my leaves are still everywhere. Like I am soaking it all in. And then we will transition to Christmas and just soak that all in until it's January and it's cold and miserable.
Pretty much until it's cold and miserable. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we get for living in the North.
Yeah, you know what? I'm down in Tennessee right now. It's beautiful. The weather's gorgeous. I'm loving it. It's cool, but it's like light jacket weather. It's not like cold. But anyway, let's get into these episodes. We watched 761 through 765. Yes?
Correct.
All right. But before we get into the episodes, I want to say a quick shout out to all the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Munashe, Bree Lynn, Lisa, Sid, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa, Jessica, Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, Casey, Garage, Tom Bergeron, Pablo, Daisy, Shane, Kelly, Taylor Harris Crane, and DJ. Thank you all so much for being patrons over on Patreon. And I know it's been kind of a light month on activities in November, but November is a very tough month with my birthday and then Thanksgiving and the holiday season kind of starting. So, but by the time this comes out, it will have passed, I believe, but we're gonna pick a couple of things up in December. December's tough too because of the holidays. Yeah, but we'll be back at like full force in January. Okay,
awesome.
So
I'm excited. That's something we'll be able to look forward to.
Yeah,
we will have some passions activities.
Yeah, stay home, hop on the Zoom, hang out, talk shit about Antonio,
yep.
Just regular things. So if you would like to become a patron, go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And with that, on with the show.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna start today with Sheridan and Luis. Well, I gotta stop. I can't call it the Shuis storyline, I feel like, because they've been separated for so long.
Yeah, it's like Brewies.
Well, so today, like in my notes, I called Brian. I called them Brianna. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
In my notes, I called them Brianna, but I get what's Luis and Beth? Leth
or
Buis. I love Buis.
I like that. Buis and Brianna.
Yeah, Buis and Brianna both are horrible. I don't know, bad. I guess I could have just said bad. I was trying to think. Anyway, whatever. I'm tired and my dad doesn't have any food in his house, so I'm starving.
Sad face. Sad
I know.
face.
But anyway, we're gonna start with Brianna. Okay. So truthfully, y'all, I don't have like a ton of notes on this, and if I'm being 100% honest, I know y'all have heard me say this before. I wasn't paying that close of attention to the storyline. Like, I don't like them. I just hate this whole storyline with like a deep, deep passion at this point. But we do get some interesting stuff. One particularly interesting thing with Diana, who
Yes.
out of her mind. So let's pick up. Diana and Brian are talking about this race. He says, I appreciate you coming all the way to the States with me. So I guess they're in this, not in Bermuda anymore, or like on those islands, or any of those islands.
I guess, but then Liz is there. So I'm like,
she flew them to wherever they were going. But I thought they were flying to like Bermuda, like the bigger island.
Yeah.
But apparently they're in the States. Doesn't say exactly where they are. Somewhere in the States. They just keep having the same conversation they've been having, where she's like, I don't want you to do this. You could die. I have a bad feeling about this. He says something to her about, well, when this race is over, I can't wait to take you home to Harmony. I really want you to meet my family, especially my sister Theresa. Here's my thing. This man left years ago. What the fuck do you know about Theresa?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, you don't know anything about your sister, literally. The only thing you know is what your brother has told you, which is that she's basically, doing
Crazy.
a lot of stuff and nuts. And so I'm just like, for you to use that as this like, oh yeah, like I want you to meet my sister thing to Diana. I'm like, what? Like literally, you don't know who she actually is these days. Like the sister you left however many years ago is not the same person that that is existing right now.
Yeah, she was like 7.
Yeah.
Like you don't know her. And I don't know, it's just I'm already digging in too much on this stupid storyline. But anytime I get the opportunity to criticize Brian, I will take it. And this was a moment where I was like, what do you know about Theresa? What do you mean you especially want her to meet Theresa? You don't even know Theresa. You need to meet Theresa. But anyway, we see that there's like a newspaper. I thought something was going to come of this, but I should have known fucking better after this amount of time watching this show. We see a little newspaper with a headline about Theresa, but they don't see it.
Because what's her name spills wine all over it.
Yeah, of course, Diana spills something all over it, wine or whatever, all over it, and so that she's like, "Oh, sorry about the paper," and he's like, "I don't give a fuck about that paper," and they throw it in the trash. So they don't see the fact that Theresa's gonna be executed. Anyway. Meanwhile, Nick and Stan, these two goons, are like hanging out at this garage. This was the craziest like direction that I've seen in this show. That these two guys are just like hanging out in this garage where Nick and Diana and Liz are like, there, and if they get seen by Nick, if they get seen by Brian, then like the whole plan goes up in smoke, right?
Right.
But they are just there lurking behind a wall and nobody ever sees them. At one point, Diana and Brian like walk right past them. I was like, who directed this?
I don't know. I do not know. It was looking weird.
And they don't see them. But anyway, Nick goes and sabotages the car himself, personally sabotages the car. Something about once it gets past 700 RPMs, it's gonna explode.
7,000 specifically, or maybe it was 7,500. I don't know.
Oh,
the next zero
shows how much I was listening. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then his plan, he lays out his plan to Stan, which is that after Brian dies in this horrible accident,
Yeah.
that he'll be there to like pick up the pieces for her, and
Mhm.
she'll fall in love with him, and eventually once they get married he will reveal her identity to her, and she'll
Mhm.
be so grateful to him and like never want to leave him. um it's a I would say it's an okay. I guess it's kind of an okay plan. That is kind of what Diana does. Like that's what she did
Mhm.
after Luis. Now she's
Yeah.
with Brian. I mean,
Mhm.
it's possible that she would just be like, "Yep, my love's dead. On to the next."
On to the next one. Like literally, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind
That's
of
where
her.
we're at.
That's
That's
kind of
where
her
we're at with
thing.
that one.
Yeah. So, Diana and Brian after Nick like does whatever he's doing to the car, he and Stan leave, but they're just still lurking around.
Right. Yeah.
Diana,
You would think that they would just leave, like so they don't get caught, but they're bad guys, so they don't think that way.
no, they don't think so good, like everybody on this show.
Exactly.
So Diana and Brian go back to the garage. Brian is like, no, there's something wrong with this car. He like notices something's off, and he's like, hey, Randy, that's the owner's name.
Hmm.
And he's like, hey, there's something wrong about this car. And the owner looks at it and he's like, oh, that's just how the new ignition systems are set up.
Hmm.
And Brian's like, oh, wow, I guess I've been away from the game so long. I didn't know they completely changed the way they make cars. I mean, it's just, I don't know. He's just like, yeah, it's just, that's just the way it's set up. And so, which I actually don't know if Brian actually saw the sabotage or if it was like just the ignition system and he just didn't know. It was unclear.
Right.
But then Diana's like, wait a minute, Brian, you thought maybe somebody tampered with your car. Is that something that happens on like this racing circuit? And that he and the owner both were like, yeah, occasionally, people do some nefarious things to try and win races and stuff. So then she gets like this horrible feeling about it and she's all nervous about it. So the owner's like, you know what? If it'll put your mind at ease, I'll call somebody to watch over the car, guard the car to make sure nothing happens to it. And she's like, yeah, that would be great. So he calls some guy, and Brianna, our new term, Brianna, they leave together. And the owner calls the guy. He comes in, but then the owner immediately is like, you can go home. Like, I don't really want you here. I was just doing this to appease a racer's girlfriend or whatever. So he sends him off. Meanwhile, Stan and Nick, again, are still like hanging around. The owner tells them, like, because they start like, Nick starts to kind of like tell him his plan, and the owner's like, I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want it. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to hear anything about it. Sir, you're so fucking mixed up in this.
Like you are an accessory to this potential murder. Like you are involved.
You're not just an accessory. Like you are the means, right? Like you actually provided the means and the opportunity. The only thing you didn't provide is the motive. Like,
that is true. That is true.
Yeah. And so, but he's like trying to stay, I don't know, I guess keep his hands clean, but your hands are so dirty. So dirty. You took the money. But anyway,
took the money, told the security guard to leave. Like, if anybody comes back to ask the questions, security guard's gonna be like, my boss told me to leave. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, these episodes, particularly in the Brianna storyline, were so messy. And I will get to it again. But like first of all, the whole part of Nick and Stan just hanging around the garage, right? Like that was so messy. But then, okay, so Stan asks Nick a question that I had been thinking, which was, how do you know that Diana's gonna fall for you? What makes you think that she will fall for you and just go along with this after Brian dies? And Nick, his answer, again, this is so messy. His answer is like, he says, oh, it's because of her amnesia. It's because she has amnesia. And I can help her find out who she is. And when I help her find out who she is, she'll be eternally grateful. But his plan is to make her fall in love with him, then
then
marry her and then
yeah.
reveal to her who she is. So again, just messy.
Yeah,
Just
it doesn't
messy.
flow.
Because they could have just left this out. They didn't
Right.
even have to put this in here. Because yeah, it's a nonsensical plan. They're idiots. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, they could have left it out. It was so messy. I was so annoyed.
Like, it could have just been about the money, but they had to make it into this like weird pseudo coulda, shoulda, woulda love story potential. I don't know.
Yeah, they could, they could have just left it at he's just kind of a bad guy.
The bad guy.
Yeah,
The
and
gambling debt situation or whatever.
And he has this weird idea that he'll be able to get Sheridan, and we could have just left it at that. Or they could have made, I honestly, when Stan asked the question, I was like, oh, nice. Yes, I want to know the answer to this question too, because I had the same question. Like, what makes you think Diana's gonna go for it?
Oh, for you, yeah.
And so I think that's why I was also just like annoyed because they didn't actually answer the question, right? Like they posed it because they knew people would be asking it, and then they didn't answer the question. In fact, they made things more confusing. So anyway, it's like you answered my question and now I have more questions.
Right, exactly. I left with 3 questions when I came in with 1.
Yeah. And so anyway, the next day, we get the next day rollover, and Nick and Stan are still lurking around this garage. I don't even think they went home. I don't think they went to bed.
They probably slept in the car.
Yeah. And so they're lurking around with their guns out. Like they both have guns.
Like literally. They're
so
out here against the wall.
Ridiculous. Truly. With their just against a I don't know, 4-foot wall. Like the wall is 4 feet long. Like it was a partition at best. Like it was ridiculous, and they have their guns out and they're just standing around. Oh, it was, like I said, messy. So incredibly messy. So anyway, they're lurking with their guns, and Brian's like working on his car. Even though it's like, you're the driver. What are you doing?
Working on
doing the
car.
Mechanical work.
Yeah.
And like you've already shown that you don't know the ignition from like, like the ignition system. You know, like this car is more advanced than any car you've seen before. So what are you doing under the hood? If anything, truthfully, Nick probably didn't even need to do anything to that car. Antonio's so fucking dumb. He probably would have sabotaged it himself. Truly. Nick could have just let enough alone.
Yeah.
And let Brian do it to himself. Because what are you doing under the hood of this car? What do you know about it? Nothing. I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. I just be raging against him for no reason. It's unreasonable for me to be like, you're a race car driver. You shouldn't be under the hood of the car. But that's how I feel about him doing it, because I hate him.
He's annoying.
He is. So anyway, Diana and Liz show up with lunch for him.
In a cute little picnic basket.
Yeah, she's got our picnic basket. And Brian talks about how he wants to take Diana to Harmony again after the race. And Liz is like, I've got a good idea. Why don't you take her before the race? Take her right now. It's like, Liz, chill.
Girl, that's not happening. We know it. We all know that's
not. Meanwhile, while they're like having lunch in the garage, mind you, like they're still in the garage, a random mechanic notices that something is off about Brian's car. He's like, oh no, I have to notify Brian. Somebody's tampered with this and this is dangerous. Nick comes around the corner, pulls a gun. Well, he doesn't even have to pull the gun. The gun was already out. The gun is pulled. Points the gun in this man's face and is like, you're not going to be telling anybody anything. And he's just holding him at gunpoint. And then the other goon, Stan just like knocks him out with like a trophy.
Yeah, I was like, where did you even get this?
Oh my God. He knocks him out. And then we never see them move him. They just go back to being behind that wall. So ostensibly, there's just a body laying on the floor in this garage.
Right.
Again, that was so messy. It was so messy. I was like, y'all gotta at least show us them moving him, taking him somewhere,
Mhm.
or at least have Nick give Stan the order, like get rid of him. You know what I
Right,
mean? They didn't even do
exactly.
that. That could have
Nothing.
been so easy.
And if I remember correctly, too, like Brian comes in fairly quickly after that.
Yes, he
So
comes
I was
right
like,
in.
I was like, so where, like, when did this happen? Like, how did you
Where
not
is the
walk
body?
over this body? Like,
Exactly. No, exactly. Brian comes in right after that happens, and they like go and hide. And I was like, and he comes in and doesn't see the body. I guess I don't know. Whatever. The man's knocked out on the floor.
yeah.
That's what has been written. So that is what I will say. So then Brian goes off somewhere. Diana, okay, so she this whole time, or at least for a little bit since they started talking about like sabotage and stuff, she says she had a bad dream.
Yep.
That Brian was in a really bad accident, like the race was going to go really, really poorly for him. And because of that, she gets this harebrained idea, like this scheme to test drive the car before Brian gets a chance to race it, saying what Brian doesn't know won't hurt him. And she's like, oh, I just want to make sure it's 100% safe before I let the man I love drive the car. Couple of things. There's so many issues here. Like there are so many issues here. Let's start with a couple of months ago, this bitch could not pour a glass of water. You're telling me no, she couldn't. She couldn't walk and carry a tray at the same time. He had to teach her how to serve water
How to be
people.
a waitress. Yeah.
Truly. You telling me she knows A, how to drive, B, how to drive a race car? Aren't those things stick shifts?
Yes. And the thing too that was like sensing, I was like, did like some of Sheridan's like former badassery of like flying a plane and stuff like come in like just osmosis its way back into Diana's brain, because that's the only smidgen of understanding I could give, because this makes no sense.
I couldn't even give it that understanding because the first time we meet Sheridan, she wrecks her fucking car. All right? Like the first time. She can't drive. Sheridan is a bad driver.
She can't drive.
We know about her.
Yeah.
She's had a couple of car wrecks. So
that's true.
That we can't even give it that like maybe it's a little bit of Sheridan coming through. No, it's not. It's messy, and
that is true. I forgot about that.
So that was my first issue. That how does Diana even know how to drive?
Right.
My second issue is how the hell is this checking to see if it's safe? What kind of plan is this?
It doesn't make sense.
What kind of plan is this? Oh, I'm going to check this. I'm worried that something is terribly wrong with this car, so bad that it could possibly kill Brian. So I'm going to get in it myself. And as long as if I don't die, then great. But there's a chance I might die. What? That's truthfully, honestly, it's almost like the Theresa line of thinking. Like, like I'm gonna sacrifice myself for the man I love. Like, girl, this is ridiculous. Why not just say, you know what? Let's get a second opinion, a different mechanic in here to take a look. Not even a different one. The one mechanic that was there was trying to warn them, right? So just ask somebody to take an extra look at it or something. Why is your first thought? Let me put on racer gear. She goes to the back and gets like somebody's helmet and jumpsuit, puts it on, like Goldilocks, right? Like she's like the Goldilocks of this garage, just picking up stuff, put it on, and taking it out to use it at her own whims. What the hell?
She is something else. She is truly something else. And then when she's out there in the car and she's like, yeah, I could do this. Like, now I understand why Brian likes this. And I'm like, girl, you don't know what you're doing. If you like, you're about to wreck into one of these walls and then you think it's a safe enough to go and start driving faster.
I don't understand why NBC Passions wasted so much money
on renting
this
a
race car.
Yeah.
Because we see her driving on a racetrack and they had to have paid like a stunt driver to do it. Right? So they rented out the racetrack, the car.
Yep.
Yeah. And a driver. To like
to
do these little scenes of something that's so incredibly ridiculous and unnecessary.
Unnecessary. So unnecessary. But they said, you know what? Because there's so much other drama going on in the rest of the show, we got to give them a little something.
They had to give them something.
Something. Because what?
Child.
There
so
it is.
yeah,
I mean Diana.
She's exactly. It's that lady is Diana.
That's Diana.
Holding firm to that. I am holding firm to that because I like Sheridan too much, and I can't stand this woman. Sometimes I like despise her. Truly, I'm just like, ugh, get her off my screen. So anyway, she goes out, does the racing, just like you said. She's like in the car, like, oh, this is cool. I'm driving her. She's like a child who got a hold of their parents' keys. Like,
exactly.
Like that little girl that drove to Target. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And she went to Target and like bought herself some Starbucks and walked around for 2 hours.
I was like, oh God.
Yeah, but she made it there.
Thankfully, she didn't kill nobody
or herself. But that's what Sheridan is, or Diana is doing at this point. Just off on a joyride to get some Starbucks from Target. So anyway, she's driving the car. She's saying, I need to know that the car is safe so that I can stop worrying about Brian. Girl, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself.
For someone who's been in so many near-death /death experiences, you end up finding yourself in another one or putting yourself in another one.
Truly. I mean,
unnecessarily.
She doesn't remember several of them, but she at least the boat disaster was, and then she almost drowned, she kidnapped herself. That's how she got into this mess that she's in now. She's such a ditz, a dingbat, nincompoop. Ivy used that word, I think, last week, and it cracked me up. And I was like, oh, I'm adding that to the lexicon of this show. Nincompoop. Because that's exactly what Diana is. Diana's a nincompoop, just like her brother.
Literally.
So anyway, Brian comes back to the garage and he's like, where the hell's my car? Right? Dude, where's my car? Dude, where's my car? Dude, where's your car? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
I used to love that stupid movie. And I watched it, I want to say like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I was like, what did I like about this?
It was a different time. Your brain was not fully developed.
Truly. My brain must have been mush because that movie is so dumb. So dumb. So anyway, Brian is like, where's my car? Dude, where's my car? And then he deduces and figures out that Diana took it out for a joyride. Meanwhile, Nick and Stan actually noticed that the car was gone first, and they thought that Brian had taken it out. So they were like really excited about it. But then
they were like, oh, he's not even gonna make it to the race because he's gonna push it to the limit to make sure it's ready to go, and he's gonna blow up.
Push it to the limit, because we're in it to win it. Oh yeah.
I see you jumping.
Listen, no, you can never say push it to the limit and I don't start singing that song. Nobody could ever say it and I don't start singing it, because it's like you wanted me to sing that.
Yes.
You
Yes.
said that because you wanted me to sing
That's
that.
a certified decom bop, okay? Like,
It really is.
it's so good.
Yeah. That and bop, 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 bop to the top. To the pop.
Yeah. And strut your stuff.
Yes. Okay. All right. All right. We back to passion.
Okay, sorry, y'all.
Okay. So, yeah. So Nick thought that Brian had taken it out, but Brian obviously did not.
Right.
And Nick's like, well, there goes my hopes and dreams.
The plan has blown up on the concourse.
Quite literally. He actually did look so sad. It was so funny because I was like, now how the hell you crying because the car gonna blow up after you sabotage the damn car? Mm-hmm. But it was funny because he's just like, there go my hopes and dreams. He did not say that. He said like, there go my hopes of like my fortune. There goes my fortune.
Right. Yeah.
Like mm-hmm. So Brian goes running. This was hilarious to me. Brian goes running out onto the track with like a red flag, and he's just like waving it furiously at Diana. And I was like, boy, what's that flag gonna do?
She don't know. She don't know. She would be like, oh, he's trying to get my attention. Hey, Brian.
Yeah. Well,
hi.
she sees him and she's like, sorry, Brian, I'm not bringing this car in until I know that it's 100% safe. Bitch. First of all, this is a huge
determining factors.
This is a massive insurance liability. Let's just start there. Let's just start there. But also, exactly, what is your
criteria for determining that this car is safe? Because just driving it around in a circle, like, that's what a car does. So what is the next step? Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for flashing lights? Are you looking for smoke? What are you looking for?
And but honestly, if anything, she's making the car less safe to drive in the race, right? Yeah. Because they've been working so hard to get it as tuned up as possible. Right. And now you're like running down the tires. You're putting stress on the engine, right? Like they're going to have to redo some things because those cars get like extremely hot when they're going on those tracks going around. And so if anything, you're making the situation worse and making things less safe for him. And like you said, what's the metric? How do you know that it's safe? Like, do you have an idea of like, oh, once I go this speed, it'll be fine? Because the thing is, Brian's last race, the reason that he got so hurt and almost died, it was a crash. It wasn't like the car wasn't safe. Another car hit him. Right. Like they made that clear. So I don't know. Diana's
she only have half a brain, so that's all.
So I heard you say she only has half a brain cell, and I agree. I agree. That little half a brain cell is trying its best to keep her alive. Trying its best to keep her alive, but she just keeps fighting her one half brain cell. She keeps fighting it.
100%. And she's just like, okay.
So that is all that is going on with them over on that island. Now let's talk about Beth and Luis. Bethies. I know Beth is your girl, right?
Beth is my girl. And listen, we did see some stuff this week to showcase why Beth ends up doing what she does down the line, okay? I'm not saying it's right. But if you had a mama like Mrs. Wallace,
she's saying, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I get it.
I get it. I'm not saying I would have done what she did, but I understand why.
Listen, honestly and truthfully, so I don't know I know Fantasia says she came into the show like after Sheridan was gone, and like this is around the time she started the show. And that's part of the reason why she prefers Beth to Sheridan.
Beth over Sheridan, yeah.
Because in her mind, Beth and Luis were together when she started the show. I also will posit that if you start the show at this point, you will hate Sheridan, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like the timing of it is it will give you your character likes for sure. Like
Yeah.
you're sitting here being like, Beth loves this man like with her entire being. So like I get it why she's doing all of this stuff. And Sheridan sucks. So
And Sheridan sucks. Yeah.
so it makes sense if you don't have the backstory of their former love story, it doesn't like you
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
But
totally.
for me, I started when Theresa and Ethan were supposed to. I started like back.
Oh, okay.
I was a like pretty much when the show started kind of person, but still.
But still,
But
it's Beth for you.
But I think I told you this one time. I loved the bad girls. Like I loved Kay. Beth was my girl too, but I didn't like Gwen. I did not like Gwen.
Well, Gwen's not.
Gwen wasn't bad necessarily. She was just, she wasn't Theresa.
She wasn't Theresa. It's interesting. Like, yeah, Gwen's not like a bad girl. I remember Gwen as a villain, but as in my rewatch, Gwen is not really a villain.
No, exactly.
I think she does villainous. I think she does villainous things later on for sure.
Yeah.
But like they all do, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But as far
right
as
now,
like,
she's not a villain.
yeah, as far as show villains go, it's like Gwen actually is not the villain. So you're welcome, Maria. You like that? I said it. I finally said it.
We may change our tune down the line, but right now she's not a villain.
Yeah, she's not so bad. Yeah. But
Maria's
anyway,
like, what?
Yeah. Maria's going to be like, Maria thinks that by the end of this, I'm going to be like fully team Gwen.
Oh, no, there's no way.
No, there's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way. All right. So, but never say never, maybe, but probably not. Anyway, let's talk about Louise. We haven't even talked about Beth and Louise.
I know.
So, Louise takes Beth home. They share some tender words, some sweet nothings with one another. Louise, he says throughout these episodes, he kind of hints to Beth that he wants to marry her. We get he sprinkles little things like, I regret. Actually, at one point, he actually says like, I regret not marrying you.
Yep.
Maybe I should have just done that, and maybe things would have turned out differently for my family. Yeah. Anyway, so they have some conversation. Then Beth, y'all might remember last week, she had stolen a picture of Luis and Sheridan from like this pack of pictures that somebody had given to Luis. I can't remember who it was.
I don't remember.
Somebody had given them to Luis, maybe Hank, somebody. And she was looking through the pictures and she took that one. All the other pictures were of him and his family, but that one picture of him and Sheridan was in there. So we see her with that picture and she hides it like away in a drawer. And then she says to herself, it'll be much better for Luis if he doesn't have to look at this terrible reminder of Sheridan, right? So she's like, she's absolving herself of this wrong that she's committed. Truly, honestly, like she is rationalizing why she took it, and she's painting it as if she's doing it for Luis, when we all know it's because she doesn't want Luis to be thinking about Sheridan, which is fair enough, right? But she's not being honest about it, which is it's like an interesting little. Truthfully, I can see why people like Beth, why some people why you and Fantasia like Beth, because now that I'm rewatching it, back in the day it was like, yeah, Beth sucks, Beth is evil, but she actually is such a compelling character, and I don't think I could appreciate that as much when I was like 13, right? But she is actually very compelling, because one of the things that happened last week was that Rebecca said to Beth, they had like exchanged words, and Rebecca said to Beth, you're a hypocrite, you're just like me, and she was like, and you would do anything to keep Luis, especially if Sheridan came back, you would do absolutely anything to keep them apart. She says that to her, And Beth, of course, denies it, but you could see in her eyes that she knew it was the truth. And so we're fast forwarding to her stealing this picture, her trying to rationalize in her to herself, like that lie that she's telling to herself because she doesn't want to be like Rebecca, but she is.
She is.
Yeah.
She is. And she will prove it to us many times over.
Yeah. Soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Very soon.
Very soon. It's like, I think I said this before, but I vividly remember when Sheridan comes back, Beth like setting her house on fire with her inside and Luis inside too. Like I vividly remember that, and I know it's kind of a spoiler, but it's coming up soon. It's coming up. I don't remember the lead up to it, but I remember her like standing outside, like, if I can't have Luis, nobody can.
I was like, ooh,
girl. Ooh, girl.
Yep,
like at least when Kay set Miguel's house on fire, it was like her weird way of like saving him, right?
This one, she was like, nah, you gonna die, because if I can't have you, nobody's going to.
Truly. So back to present day. Beth hides this picture. She's rationalizing it in her brain as if she's doing some, grand gesture for Luis.
Yeah.
And then we hear Edna Wallace for the first time. And we hear her berating Beth, saying, you're so useless. What's a handsome guy like Luis doing with you? And Beth is like, we're together, mother. Luis and I are together. And she's like, what's a handsome guy like Luis? Let me see if I can do it. Oh, what's a handsome guy like Beth doing with you? Especially after being with that drop dead, gorgeous Sheridan Crane. That's my best Edna.
That was good.
No, we need Eric. Eric does it the best, but I'm not trained like he is, right? In the theatrical arts. So anyway, she's like berating Beth about just like not being good enough. It was real nasty. Truthfully, I mean, look, me and my mother have an excellent relationship. I love her down. So it's hard for me to say one way or the other, but I believe in my head that if my mother treated me the way that Edna Wallace treats Beth, she would be in a home and not a good one. Like she would be a ward of the state.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like we would be basically no contact.
Yeah. Because just hearing what she did to her in this episode, imagine hearing that every single day of your life. And like, it wasn't even just like, you're useless. Like she was like as a mom, she was like, I did this for you and I did this for you and this is how you treat me. I'm sorry, Edna. You chose to have a child. It's not your child's fault that they exist and that they that you have to take care of them. Like she was making it seem like it's Beth's fault that she didn't get to do certain things in her life and all of this stuff. That's not your child's fault.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be a responsible adult. It's not your daughter's fault that you didn't get to go off and do certain things. And so now it's her fault. And now you're blaming her for X, Y, and Z and that she can't make tea. But last time you said it was too damn hot. And now she put an ice cube in it so you don't burn your tongue. And now it's too cold.
She called her stupid. Ooh. Like and I agree with you. It's like she was spouting off all this nonsense about like, after all that I have done for you, all that I have sacrificed for you. And it's like, yeah, but you're the mom in the situation. I didn't ask to be here. And so, yeah, I 100% agree. I also think, what have you done for Beth? I want to hear it, because is it going to be, I fed you, I clothed you, I kept a roof over your head, the bare fucking minimum? Because from where I'm standing, maybe you did those things for Beth, but what you also did was give her like crippling, disabling, poor self-esteem and bad anxiety. Yeah, like you have fractured her psyche
Mm-hmm.
from where I'm standing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you gave her
You
a lot
made
of
this.
things. Yeah, this the monster you made. And yeah, so Edna, while we laugh and joke about Edna, if we really talk about like what is actually happening in this relationship, it's extremely abusive. And then they
Yeah.
become abusive to each other,
Each other.
right?
Yeah, it goes back and forth all day long.
But I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound real childish.
Okay.
Edna started it.
Edna did. Edna did start it. She is the one who popped off. So, like, you can only do so much to a person before they crack. And when Beth cracks, she cracks all the way.
Yeah.
And you unleashed a monster that you could not put back into his shell.
So Beth, after like this kind of back and forth with her mom, she's so frustrated. And her mom has like, he'll never love you after he loved that beautiful Sheridan Crane. You're not as beautiful as her. You're not as good as her. You'll never be as good as her, which is a line we hear over and over and over again from Edna. Beth goes out, finds that picture and rips it out, like rips Sheridan out of the picture, right? Rips it up. And she says, Sheridan, you're dead and you're never coming back. And
You're never coming back.
Yeah, and so we're seeing little sprinkles of batshit Beth, right? She's coming in, yeah, little inkling, little batshit Beth, bless her little heart. Luis, who had left and had a conversation with Theresa, a very infuriating conversation with Theresa, comes back after that conversation, kind of upset, and Beth tries her best to comfort him. Edna has her walker and she's like lurking around the house. Yeah, she's doing the big, like picking it up really high and putting it down, getting around the house, scooting around the house. She finds that picture that Beth tore up, and she says, "Oh, I bet Luis would love to see this." And then I guess she just stands there and listens in on their conversation for a little bit. And then she goes back to her room. Beth then brings Luis inside, sits him down, starts to give him a massage on his shoulders, just trying to calm him down. And like I said, Edna's like lurking nearby. I don't know if she went right back to her room.
Yeah.
But Luis then tells Beth, again, throughout these episodes, he was kind of sprinkling in like, I want to marry you kind of language. This was like the moment where it seemed like he was gonna propose. It really did. Which this will be a weird fucking time to propose. Your sister's on death row. She's gonna die tomorrow. It's just very
well,
weird.
He didn't know
time.
it was tomorrow, but at that point, but even still, yeah,
still, it's just an odd time.
Yeah,
and so he tells Beth, I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want to regret the things that I should have done. I should have married you when I had the chance, like back in the day. Maybe my family's life wouldn't have gotten so crazy. Maybe Theresa never would have done the things that Theresa has done. And just as it seems like, and she's like, go on. Yes. Keep going. And just as it seems like he's ready to like say the thing, Edna yells out, Luis, I need to talk to you. I'm trying to do my best, Edna. I need to talk to you right now. Come in here right now, please.
Oh, Lord.
And when he goes in there, she tells him, you think she's going to show him the picture, but I knew she was going to show him the picture because that would have just been too easy.
Yeah.
She tells him she heard a radio bulletin about Theresa's execution and that it's set for tomorrow. And she was like, I just thought you really need to know that. So he rushes out, as he should. Now, this is where I was like, Beth is fucked up because Beth gets mad at her mom. She's like, specifically for telling Luis about it. She's like, why did you tell him that? You always mess everything up for me. He was just about to propose to me.
Do we know for sure? No.
Yeah. One, we don't know for sure that he was going to propose to you. It did seem that way, but Luis, he wishy-washy. He goes back and forth on things. The second thing is, That's huge news.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge news.
Yep.
Like, and I think Luis would have been pretty upset if he found out in the morning
Right.
that Theresa's execution was
that day.
was in like 3 hours. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't know. I just, she was upset because he left, and right when he was going to propose to her. And I kind of get it, but that's huge news. I think I actually think Edna did the right thing in telling him that.
She did. And even for Beth, like, even just to be a selfish human being at that point, I wouldn't have wanted a proposal in that way. Like, that would have been ruined by Theresa dying. Like,
no,
that would have been the memory.
Uche, you and I have self-respect. Like, no, I wouldn't want to be proposed to like that. Absolutely not. Beth's taking what Beth can get.
Whatever crumbs she can get. That's true.
Beth's gonna take what Beth can get. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Beth says he was just about to propose to me. Mm-hmm. Edna calls it hogwash. Mm-hmm. She says to her, he dumped you. He dumped you once. Can't you take the hint? You are not special to him. He just settled for you because his real love is God. I'm trying my best. I know it's not the best, but I think it's better than my Tabitha voice.
No, I think your Tabitha voice is better.
No.
This is good, but I like your Tabitha voice.
My Tabitha voice is horrible.
No.
My Tabitha voice is horrible.
No, that's hilarious. I love it.
Oh, Tim Tim. Oh, it's so bad. I can't even. Anyway, moving on. I love that you love it though. Thank you.
That's my day.
No. So she tells her he settled for you because his real love is gone, and you're not really special to him. And it was just all really mean. And mm-hmm. And then she's like, if Luis only knew just how mean you really are. And she shows her the picture, the torn up picture. Mm-hmm. And Beth yells at her, I'm not mean. I'm just frustrated by you, mother. You make me crazy. Edna tries to run this guilt trip on Beth, which works. It's sad that the dynamic in their relationship is so toxic doesn't even begin to describe it. This is rotten to the core. Mm-hmm. Rotted.
Rotten to the core.
Decrepit. I'm rotten to the core, rotten to the core. You know what? I'm picking up my niece and nephew tomorrow, and my niece loves The Descendants. Loves The Descendants. And I remember the last time I was here over the summer, we had watched the first and second Descendants movie 3 times. Oh and God. Finally she was like, I was like, okay, we're gonna watch a movie, and she's like, oh, I know what we should watch. I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. We're not watching Descendants. I was like, I refuse to watch Descendants again. Because why do I know all these songs? They're good. Yep. But yeah, but I haven't seen the new one with Cinderella.
Oh, Rise of Red. Yeah. It's cute. It's cute. They did a good job with it.
So we'll probably watch that one when I pick them up for Thanksgiving. Yeah. We're also gonna go see the Wicked movie, which I'm very excited about.
Oh,
have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet, but I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky.
Okay, girl. I see you.
I love it. Honestly, the only thing is I'm off on a tangent now, but whatever. Mm-hmm. My only worry about going to the movies to see the Wicked movie is I legitimately do not want to hear people singing along. I don't want to hear you sing along. Literally, I'm here to see Cynthia and Ariana and all the other cast members and watch it in Dolby digital surround sound for a reason. Yeah. I do not want to hear you, Jessica, shut the fuck up. just because you got to play Millie and Thoroughly Modern Millie in high school in 1998. Please shut up. So that's my only concern. Especially since I'm taking them to see it and they don't know the show, they don't know the music, and I just don't want other people like ruining the whole experience for them because they're like, it's not a sing along. But anyway, back to passions. Back to another thing with witches, right?
Right. Yes.
So it connects. Anyway, Edna guilt trips her, talking about all the things that I don't know where I went wrong with you, and you're so selfish, and she just goes on and on and on. She just berates her about how inadequate she is, that she never went to college, that she was so stupid for losing her business to the Cranes, and it was honestly horrible.
It was bad. It was really bad.
It was horrible.
I felt terrible for her.
Yeah, and Beth finally just like walks away from her mother, and she kind of like prays to Luis. Luis isn't there, but she's like, please, Luis, please take me away from here. Please save me from all this. And I don't know. She need to put her in a home.
That's
a ward of the state. That lady would be a ward of the state. You are in whatever state-run home I can get you in.
Like, literally.
I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with it. Not at all. Not if you talking to me like that. That's crazy. So that's it for them this week. You got anything to add?
No. She was doing her thing, and she tried, and she just wants Luis to save her, and I can't blame the girl.
I can't blame the girl. I can't.
They could live at the police station. Who cares? Beth will sleep in a bathtub. She don't. She just wants to be with her man. That's it.
Beth will sleep in a bathtub. That is literally so true. Oh my God, that is so funny. She absolutely would. I feel bad for her. Like, they make so many of the women on this show like pathetic for men, but Beth is one that I kind of understand. I get it. Like, she seems to have never had any love in her life.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like she is going to fight for this, for like to hold on to Luis for as long as she possibly can, because it's the only love she's truly known in her life.
Yeah. And in a small way, it's interesting. In a small way, there's like a parallel between her and Chad, because I noticed a few weeks ago, I came to the realization that the reason that Chad is so okay with all the little crumbs that Whitney like lays out for him, and he'll take any little crumb, and he was so glad when she finally like very in a bad situation, honestly, told him that she loved him, but she was telling him basically also saying like, but I refuse to be with you. And he was over the moon. And it occurred to me, Chad has never had any love in his life. He's never known any love. And the people who were supposed to love him abused him. And that's like basically the same experience that Beth has had. The people who were supposed to love her mother, abused her.
Yep.
And so it makes sense that she's willing to take any crumbs she can get. And same way with Chad. Now Chad is a little different because he's not as devious, right?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, they definitely have different methods. But what drives them is kind of the same.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That want for love.
Yeah, that want of love. And never having experienced it in any capacity, let alone romantic.
Right.
Ugh, I feel so bad for them. Anyway, we got to talk about Theresa now. Again, I don't have my soundboard, but if I did, I would play doom 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 doom. Because Theresa locked up, they won't let her out.
Locked up. I mean, she is on death row.
Yeah.
Death row.
She's on death row records. What's the lyric? I can't remember. Don't worry about it. I'll cut it out. Or not. Whatever. Moving on. So let's pick up with what's going on with Theresa. We actually pick up with Ethan, who has walked into the governor's office. This is his last ditch effort to get a stay of execution for Theresa. So he's pushed his way into the governor's office. And he is shocked to see Alistair sitting there in the governor's chair.
Yeah.
Because if you recall last week, we saw Alistair go to the governor and present him with execution letter. I can't remember what they called it. Order of execution. That's what it is.
Yeah.
A complete ready order of execution. All the governor had to do was sign it. And he was like, Theresa will die tomorrow. So he's like in the mix and not in a good way. Ethan does not realize this. And I can't 100% fault him for not realizing it. However, there are some things later on that he says, and I'm like, how are you this dumb? How are you this dumb? So anyway, he barges in, he sees Alistair there, and he's like, grandfather, thank God you're here. First of all, and Alistair did stop him, because he did keep saying, like, grandfather, you can use your power and influence to put a stop to this, grandfather. And Alistair said, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not your grandfather. I'm not your granddaddy. Okay. I ain't your granddaddy.
Don't call me grandpappy because I don't know you.
Truly, I don't know her. That's what it was. It was very Mariah Carey doesn't know Jennifer Lopez, right? I don't know her. He's like, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not your grandfather, so please stop calling me that. Ethan's like, oh yeah, I mean, I know, obviously I know you're not my grandfather. I've just called you that my whole life, so it's just like force of habit. And Alice is like, well, break the habit. Because
he's like, cut this shit out.
Yeah. But Ethan thinks that Alistair is there to put a stop to Theresa's execution. He's like, I knew you wouldn't let Theresa die. And he's oddly shocked out. My God, I need to eat. He's oddly shocked to find out that not only is Alistair there to make sure Theresa gets executed, he's there to expedite the process, right? To make sure
we are going to jump to the front of the line.
Yeah.
TSA pre-check to death, because this is not going to take.
No,
it's not
truly.
gonna take a long time. We are expediting this for show.
He said, "Fuck all the murderers and the rapists. They can wait. They can wait. This teenage girl, she has to go.
Has to go.
She's got to go. And so, yeah, don't worry about the hardened criminals. Just this little soft teenage girl. So Ethan is shocked by this. Ethan asks Alistair why he's doing this. He's like, what has Theresa ever done to you? And Alistair says, I don't owe you any explanation. Honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I'm gonna say this. Alistair is a piece of shit. I don't like Alistair, but sometimes he gives cunt down.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes he gives Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Right? He gives all cunt, tens across the board, right?
Yep.
Because when he said, I don't owe you any explanation, I was like, okay, period. Because no, he doesn't owe you any explanation. He doesn't. Like, he's evil. Just deal with it. So Ethan gets the execution order and he tears it up, right? And he says, I won't stand for this. Again, Alistair coming through with a little sprinkle. He was like, that was pointless. It's like, that was a pointless gesture. I could have a million of those drawn up at a moment's notice.
You can rip up the next one and I'll have another one ready. Like, it is what it is.
I don't know. Something about it was like, I liked it. I think it was because I know exactly what it was. He was humiliating Ethan, and I can't stand Ethan. Yeah. And I was like, I don't necessarily want Ethan to lose in this situation because it means Theresa's losing out. Right. But it is nice to watch him get humbled. Right? It is. So anyway, Ethan at this point is like, I can't believe it. I never knew the Cranes were so evil. What has everybody been telling you since day one?
Since the beginning.
The Cranes are evil. Then he lunges. Now I was like, yeah, go for it. He lunges across the desk at Alistair and tries to like kill him, basically.
Yep. Strangle him.
Yeah, and because Alistair tells him, like, did you even look at that execution order? Theresa's execution is not only set in stone, it's set in stone for tomorrow. So, because I think he says, stop wasting your time here and go spend what little time you can with
left.
Theresa.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ethan's like, what do you mean? And he's like, sir, this is happening in like 24 hours. Like, your time is running out. So goodbye.
So when
it still cracks me up though, that like Ethan barged into that room, saw Alistair sitting at that desk and still really thought that this man was here to save the day. Anytime Alistair is sitting at somebody else's desk, he is up to some nefarious shit. Okay.
Alistair has had plenty of time to help.
Yep.
Alistair has not helped. He helped exactly one time, and that's when he paid Theresa's bail. Said he would cover Theresa's bail for $10 million. Other than that, he hasn't helped at all. So I don't know what made them think that he would help. Because honestly, paying her bail, it's not like he was out $10 million. As long as she goes back to jail, he'll get his money. He doesn't have to pay the money. Yeah. So that wasn't even any kind of sacrifice for him. Right. So anyway, Alistair, after Ethan lunges across the desk at him, Alistair like stands up, straightens his jacket, and he's like, what could I expect from a Bennett? I expect nothing better from a Bennett. And he says, you know, true Cranes don't waste their time getting mad. They just get even. And then Ethan leaves like dejected. Like, what can he do? Big Daddy Crane has spoken. Yeah. And he leaves, and then the governor asks Alistair, like, are you sure that you want to go through this, that you want to do this? And Alistair says, Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald Crane must die tomorrow. So yeah. So now let's go over to the prison and check on our girl. This week was really sad. Yeah. It was really sad. I cried. I teared up. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I cried. I also am just like a notorious crybaby. Yeah. But it was hard. Some of it was really hard to watch for me. So Father Lonigan is visiting Theresa, and Theresa is just like telling him more of her delusions about how the Cranes and Ethan are going to save her and she's not going to die and she's doing this all for Ethan. He tries to convince her to recant and saying Ethan wouldn't let you take the blame for something that he did if he really loved you, because she keeps saying like, Ethan loves me, Ethan loves me, Ethan loves me, he's gonna take care of this. He knows I did this for him. And he's like, well, he also posits a great question. He says, are you 100% sure that Ethan is the one who killed Julian? And she says, no, I saw it with my own eyes on a videotape. That videotape was terrible. I want to say that. I want to say that she didn't actually see Ethan shoot. She saw Ethan shoot a gun, and then she saw Julian get shot, but she didn't see the whole picture.
Exactly.
Yeah, but whatever. She took it as fact, as 100% true. And then that's when he tells her, well, Ethan wouldn't, if he really loved you, if he truly loved you, he wouldn't let you take the fall for something that he did. And that's why Father Lonigan is saying it doesn't make sense. Make sense. Yeah. So this is when Father Lonigan says, I'm going to pray. And he's like crying at this point. Even though I don't know what you crying for, because you could help. I don't know what he crying for. Why are you crying? Dry it up, priest. Dry it up, because you could help.
You could say, it's like, you know how they say like, it's like attorney client privilege, or like you have that responsibility as like a therapist or a doctor or whatever. Like, yes, you have to keep people, but like once they put themselves or somebody else in harm's way, it's your duty to, say what you need to say.
That's how I feel too. And you know what? We're going to come back to Father Lon again later because he comes back. And I'm going to continue talking shit about him because he's a shitty priest. So anyway, he says he's crying. I will pray for you and for Ethan. And then Luis walks in. He's like, why are you going to pray for Ethan? He's not the one on death row. But of course, Theresa covers again, saying, I don't know. She just covers up and lies.
That, she's praying.
So Luis comes in. He tries to talk some sense into Theresa before he says, I want to talk some sense into you before it's too late. Like, it's not too late for you to recant. Although I think it is too late. I don't know how many people are on death row and they're like, at the last minute, are like, oh, I didn't do it. Or say they didn't do it up until the time it happens. You know what I mean? Like, one of the reasons so many people are against the death penalty, which I understand, and I am like, I'm like 90% against the death penalty. It's one of those things that, to me, there are some crimes that's like, you need to be taken up out of here. Like, go on and catch your cloud because we don't need you here.
Right.
However, the driving force for a lot of people behind why the death penalty should be abolished is because so many people get accused of crimes that they did not commit. And many people have been exonerated after the fact.
Right.
And it's like, oh, they didn't actually commit this crime, but we have already executed them. The damage is done, right?
Right.
You can't take it back.
At that point, just like leave them in jail. Just leave them in jail, because if the truth is gonna come out later on down the line, then at least they're still here. But if you already killed them, can't do nothing about it.
So I don't know if Theresa changing her story at this point could even possibly change anything. I really don't know if it could, because again, imagine how many people on death row who are actually innocent, and then people who aren't innocent on death row but say like, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. Right? It's like, yeah, of course you're gonna say you didn't do it.
Right. Like, they about to either pop you or stick you with an injection. Like, it is. The death by firing squad is still a thing, right?
Yeah, in some states, I think it just got outlawed in the last state, maybe, but death by firing squad, or maybe it was hanging that just got outlawed.
Goodness.
I don't know. Honestly, it's so morbid, and I hate even thinking about it, that it's not even something that I would even look up or look into, because I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I am terrified to go to jail, go to prison. Don't ever commit a crime around me, because baby, I'm going to squeal. I'm going to tell it all, because I'm not going down with you. I'm not going to jail. Refuse.
No,
you can call me a snitch. You can call me whatever you want.
I'm too cute to go to jail. I'm too cute to go to jail. I wouldn't be great in jail. It would just be bad. So nope.
Can't do it. Simply could not do it. Anyway, so, but Theresa's in prison. She's cute.
She is. She is gorgeous. She's not even just cute. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's stunningly beautiful. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So Luis comes in, and he has brought the family photo album with him in an attempt to kind of pull at Theresa's, like, love and heartstrings, that loving sensibility that she has for her family. And so then they look through the family photo album. They take a walk down memory lane. They talk about the family, and oh, look, Paloma. Oh, look, Antonio. Our long lost siblings. And then he again brings up the subject of her telling the truth. Tries to get her to tell the truth. He's like, don't leave the Paloma's gone, Dad's gone, Antonio's gone. Don't you leave the family too. Like, we need you. Our family is dwindling by the day.
Yep.
And she's like, no, don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna get out of here. Ethan's gonna save me. He says to her, Ethan can't help you. And he's like, you have to tell me who you're covering for. And she's like getting agitated. She goes over to the bars, and she like whispers like, Ethan, And Luis takes that and runs with it. He's like, "What? Ethan's letting you go down for a crime that you didn't commit, that he committed." And then she corrects him. Is like, "No, no, no. I'm just saying Ethan's gonna save me. No, I'm just saying Ethan, he's gonna save me." And then she goes on a delusional rant about how she's gonna get out, she's gonna raise her baby, her and Ethan are gonna have a beautiful life together. Luis is infuriated by this. He's trying to get through to her, trying to get her to see the gravity of her situation, but she just keeps saying, Ethan still loves me and he will not let me die. Don't worry about she says, this set him the fuck off. She says, Ethan will not let me die. Don't worry about me. And Luis gets fed the fuck up. He yells, "I can't help but worry about you. You're nuts." And he's like, "Guard." He calls for a guard to let him out. He can't do it anymore. He's like, "I'll see you tomorrow." Now, at this point, Luis doesn't know. This is before he goes to see Beth. So he doesn't know that her execution is actually for tomorrow.
Right.
So I think if with that information, he probably would have reacted very differently. But he doesn't know that. So we'll give him a pass on how he left. Because I was with him. I was with him all the way. I was like, yeah, I got to go. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. There's nothing more to say here. Meanwhile, after he gets out, or after he leaves, Theresa fantasizes, of course. I can't fault the girl for this. I know people get annoyed with her fantasies and stuff, but what else does she have to do? She in a 8x8 cell.
That's it.
And it's her last day on Earth. Let the girl maladaptive daydream for a bit, right? So I really couldn't be too upset at the fantasy of this, because she's wanting to get out. I don't think Theresa knows the situation she's in. We see that later. She just is clinging to what little hope she can. And she's dealing with it the only way she knows how to deal with it. Like, it's very easy for us as audience members to look at all the delusions and the Ethan's gonna save me and like the loony loops and the craziness, and be like, oh my God, this girl, why doesn't she get it? Why can't she get it? But Theresa's in a horrible situation, and all she has left at this point is that little bit of hope.
That's it.
That's all she has left. And so I think as audience members, we have to kind of let her cling to it. I think if I was in a similar situation, which I absolutely fucking would not be. Yeah. But I think if I was in a similar situation, that's all I would be able to do too, is like fantasize about how I want things to turn out, how I hope things will turn out for me.
Yeah. And I think when you think about it in general, when people are facing, okay, maybe not necessarily death row, but like hard situations in life, it's either you have hope, like even when you are on your deathbed from some disease, if you have some kind of hope, that's what's keeping you going. Yeah. That's what's keeping you moving. Like, you have to cling on to some kind of hope, because if not, you're dead at that point. Yeah. And so that, I think that is Theresa's version of this. Like, she's not dying of cancer, but she potentially is going to die on death row. So for her, she's like, no, there's got to be some way, or God can heal me, or something kind of situation. Yeah. That's what it is for her. So you cannot help it, but you can't blame her for holding on to some kind of hope, because everybody else around you is like, nah, girl, you gonna die. Or nah, girl, your entire intestines are, eaten up by this cancer. Like, God was gonna heal you. He was gonna heal you already.
But why would you say that to somebody, right? Like,
right, exactly. You can't say that to somebody who's in that situation. So
yeah.
Unless you're
unless you who?
Unless you're Whitney.
Well, what bless Whitney Hart. I feel so bad for
I
Whitney, and we'll
know.
get to it. But oh, bless her heart. I started to cry because I was thinking about like, what if just thinking about like my best friend dying made me sad,
Mhm.
right? And again, me and my best friend would never be in this situation, but
Right.
still, like,
Exactly.
it made me
Thinking
sad
about
to
it.
think about
It's
like
yeah.
how important those relationships that are outside of your family are,
Hmm.
and like a friendship like theirs is a beautiful thing and hard to come by. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great loss if you lose a friend like that. So anyway, Ethan shows up with the terrible news that Alistair is not going to help, and neither is the governor. In fact, her execution is tomorrow. And Theresa hears this news. She passes out cold. And then when she comes to, actually, when she comes to, she starts talking about Alistair. So that's when he tells her,
Hmm.
"Oh, Alistair's not. He's not going to help,
Hmm.
at all." So then Ethan says, he's gonna keep trying to save her, but there's very little he can do. And uh, Theresa looks at him and is like, "You're right," because he's like, "No, I'm gonna keep trying to save you. I'm gonna keep trying to save you. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try." And she looks at him and she's like, "You're right. It has to be you." I don't know. I just feel like something should have clicked in Ethan's head in that moment. Maybe not exactly she's doing this for me, but maybe a little bit of like, what? Because it was weird. It was weird. She looked him dead in his eyes and was like, right, I know. It has to be you. You have to be the one to do it. Because Theresa is thinking maybe he's gonna give himself up. I don't know, but she's like, you have to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
And then she's like, everything is gonna work out. Everything will be okay.
Mhm.
And then she asks about her baby, and then Ethan gives her a picture of the baby, and then she goes on one of her little rants about how she's gonna fill up the family photo album with so many pictures of her baby, and she's gonna be around to see her son grow tall like the man he was named for. That's what she says.
Mhm.
Their visit gets cut short. I can't remember exactly why. And then Ethan kisses Theresa. I don't know why. I mean, let's be clear. He just basically got back together with Gwen.
Right.
I just want to say this. This is like the beginning of, cuz I feel like we, especially back during my first viewing,
Hmm.
we as an audience did a lot of Gwen versus Theresa. Theresa did
Hmm.
this, Gwen did that. Theresa did this, Gwen did
Yep.
that. Ethan is doing little things like this throughout the entire fucking show.
Yeah.
Right?
To give Teresa hope when he's with Gwen and to give Gwen hope when he's with Teresa. It just, yep.
And giving Theresa hope when he's saying to Gwen that there's no hope for Theresa.
Mhm.
Right? And I mean that in the sense that there's no hope for her to live, but there's also no
Right.
hope, even if she did, there's no hope for them to
For
get
them.
back together. He said that to Gwen in these episodes. We won't really talk about it because Gwen was barely in the episodes, and honestly, I don't even think I wrote it down in my notes because
No, the next
I was
time
like,
we see her is when Teresa's in the chamber.
I was annoyed because I was like, why is Gwen even here?
Yeah, it
Like
was
at her
unnecessary.
execution.
Yeah.
Um, and I know some people, Maria, will say
Mhm.
she's there to comfort her best friend. No, fuck that. No, she should not be at Teresa's execution.
No, she shouldn't.
No, she shouldn't.
Most people
Anyway,
shouldn't be, but we'll get there.
no, the whole damn all of Harmony was there. I agree. I wrote in my notes, why are TC and Eve here?
Doesn't
That
make any
didn't
sense.
it didn't make any sense to me.
No sense whatsoever.
Cause it's not like it's
Even
not like Eve.
Jessica, even Jessica's there, isn't she?
Was Jessica there?
I'm pretty sure Jessica walks in that room with Grace and
Yeah, I think you're right.
what's his name? Sam.
Everybody came as like a family to watch
Yeah,
her
guy.
die. Yeah, it's weird. It's all very weird. So anyway,
But let's back up. Mhm.
back to Ethan's kisses Theresa. And she asks him to tell her baby that mama can't wait to hold him. The lady guard says some annoying stuff. I'm gonna skip past it. She was super
it's not
annoying. I
important.
couldn't stand her. Alistair shows up to inspect the execution chamber for some reason. And then he just like watches Theresa from afar. I don't know. He's so creepy.
And then like Theresa goes to sit on the bed, and then she like looks up and sees like the area where Alistair was, but then he's gone. And you see her like kind of had this like weird feeling somebody was watching her, but then she just like dismisses it. And I'm just like, what was the point of this?
He's a creeper.
Yeah.
Ethan, then I wrote in my notes, Ethan goes to talk to his intellectual equal, little Ethan. He goes to talk to his intellectual equal about his troubles. Little newborn baby, little Ethan. I just thought that was funny because I laughed when I saw him like talking to the baby about like Theresa and all, and like trying to figure out how he could help her. And I was like, okay, I guess he's just like, I get it, but also it was funny because Ethan's an idiot. It was just too good of a joke to pass up. So, Luis, oh, this is so good. Luis has a run-in with Alistair on the wharf, and he realizes that Alistair was behind this like whole thing, the whole expediting of Theresa's execution, and probably her being sentenced to death in the first place. And Luis is like, we thought you were gonna help her, and Alistair says, why would I save the woman who killed my son? He says, since when do you care about your kids, right? Like, I saw how you treated Sheridan, and honestly, let's add in, I also saw how you treated Julian,
right?
And he says, I could kill you for the way you treated Sheridan. And now Theresa. And then Alistair says, that seems to be the way your family solves things, by committing high crimes. Your father, your sister, and now you. Go ahead, Luis. Kill me. I like that line. Go ahead, Luis. Kill me. I didn't have it as a contender for episode title, but I'm gonna throw it in the.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it in the running because that's a good one. Go ahead, Luis. Kill me.
Kill me.
That's a good one. So Luis then says, you're not even worth killing. You're like stepping on a bug. Alistair, God, like I said, just so Real Housewives serving reads down the house down boots, right? He's like, ugh, what a pathetic analogy. He's like, what did Sheridan ever see in you besides some Neanderthal machismo? And Luis is like, don't you dare mention her name. And then he taunts him about Antonio and Martin leaving the family. And Luis is like, why do you hate the Lopez Fitzgerald so much? What did my family ever do to you? Alistair just won't answer him. He basically gives him the same answer he gave to Ethan, which is, I don't owe you an answer. And that's when Luis leaves. And then this was weird. Alistair speaks to himself because Luis is like, this isn't over, right? But to Alistair. And Alistair says, our families will cross paths again, Luis, and your family will be torn apart, destroyed. You're in for more heartache than you could ever imagine. I have a couple of thoughts on this. Number one, Alistair, he says our families will cross paths again. Baby, you don't have a family. It's just you.
It's just you at this point. You done killed off your daughter. Your son is dead. Who else is left?
The wife was dead.
The wife is dead.
Like, you don't have a family at this point. Them kids of Ivy and Julian's, we've not seen them.
We haven't seen any of them. They're off in boarding school or drinking around the world somewhere. Like,
yeah. So what family do you speak of? Right. First of all, you don't have Alistair doesn't have a family. But
it's me, myself, and I.
Then the second part of it is he's like, your family will be torn apart, destroyed. Luis's family is in tatters.
Right. Like, I don't know how much more destroyed they could be. Like, they are currently like out of what, 6 people, about to be 3 people down.
We're down to 3, right?
Like,
Like we are down to 3.
mhm.
And honestly, if zombie Charity has her way, we're down to 2.
Yep.
Right?
It will literally just be Miguel and Pilar. And that's just sad because
Yeah.
Miguel's a dummy and Pilar, well, you know.
So anyway, the next day the sun rises and everybody's gathered at the Bennett's home pre-execution. Reese, I was like, why'd they even have him in these episodes? He was so unnecessary. He had one line, and it was just to like show everybody the newspaper. He's like, oh, here's the newspaper, guys. And the headline on the newspaper in giant letters was "Execution Tonight," kind of like comedy tonight.
Yes.
Execution tonight.
Yes.
And it's just a picture of Theresa, and it's just like it brought everybody down further than they already were. Ethan calls some guy named Gary. Gary's like, can't help you. He calls somebody else. They can't help him. He's like, oh, Alistair's gotten to everybody. He again states this sentiment that he didn't realize how evil the Cranes were. He's so dumb. He's so dumb. Sam then gets a call from the prison saying, if y'all want to see Theresa, now's the time. So everybody goes and gets changed into their funeral clothes, and they head over to the prison
Some
to
of
see
these
her.
funeral outfits, though.
Kay's was particularly inappropriate, I felt.
Yes. Kay looked like she was going to a dance. She was going to like a party. Kay didn't look like she was going to a funeral.
Yeah, she looked like she was going to the casino. Like,
yeah,
you know,
like
she was on a girls' trip.
Right. Ivy and what's her name? Rebecca were just in their regular clothes. And then you've got Beth who wore a jean jacket.
And why is Beth there?
Everybody's emotional support people are there.
I feel like
that's the only thing, because Beth was there for Luis, Charity and Kay were there for Miguel, Gwen is there for Ethan. Like, everyone's got an emotional support animal person.
Everybody brought their para.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, like, yeah, okay. I'll you know what? I'll take it. To me, I was like, the only people who should really be here are like her family.
Yeah.
And like the victim's family, right? So it does make sense that, like, I guess Ivy's there because she's his ex-wife, I guess. And Ethan makes sense.
Right, because
well, actually, Ethan don't make sense by my metric.
Yeah, like Ethan technically doesn't. He's not related to the victim because that's not his daddy. And yeah.
Then again, you know what though? Legally, Julian is Ethan's dad because he signed the birth certificate. So legally, Julian is Ethan's dad. Yeah. So legally, he would be like one of the victim's family. So okay, I'll give it to them to have Ethan. But everybody else, and when I tell y'all, every citizen of Harmony is in this in the hospital, in this execution room watching.
We saw Jessica, y'all. Jessica, who's been working at the bed and breakfast. They closed.
She took a day off.
They closed the bed and breakfast for this execution. That says something.
She took a day off to come to the execution. So everybody goes to the prison. They visit with Theresa before they go to the execution chamber. It's very sad. It's all very sad. Whitney shows up at one point before everybody else does. Yeah. And Teresa's like ranting about how Ethan's gonna save her and she's gonna get out. Whitney tells her to get real. She says there's one chance to save your life. It's the same conversation Theresa has had with absolutely everybody, to be honest. But during that conversation, the guard comes to take Teresa's order for her last meal. And I think you see like the reality really set in for Theresa. I think we see it sometimes. Like she lets the fear overcome her from time to time. It comes out. You can see it. But then she quickly pulls it back in and lets the hope overtake that. Because she doesn't want to succumb to the fear, which I can understand to an extent. Right. But she really doesn't show to everybody that she understands the gravity of her situation.
Right.
And that's why everybody keeps like kind of shaking her. Like, do you not understand what's happening? But Theresa absolutely understands what's happening.
Oh, she knows. She knows. Yeah. And that's why she's just like, no, I know I will be saved because this can't possibly happen to me. Yeah. It's impossible. Like it cannot happen to me. So I know I will be saved.
The girls together, they cry together. Whitney's trying to get her to tell the truth, but Theresa just sticks it out. She's standing firm on what she wants to do in this. And she says, you know, they won't go through with it. It would be too cruel to execute a new young mother. Oh, baby girl, no. So then this is when the family shows up. Everybody's like saying their goodbyes to her, basically, you know, hugging her, crying. She tells them to stop worrying because Ethan is going to save her. Then Ethan shows up and immediately bursts her bubble. He's like, there's nothing left I can do. He tells her, I've done all I can do, but Alistair has gotten to everyone and blocked me every step of the way. He apologizes to her. I'm sorry that I couldn't do more for you. And she says, this is just the way it's got to be. And she says, I knew the risks when I confessed. That's what she says to him. And that's why that line right there makes me believe she's clinging to this hope, but she knows exactly what the situation she is. Yeah. She knows. Everybody else seems to think that she doesn't understand. Right. But she does absolutely, definitely, clearly understands by that line. I knew the risks when I confessed. And so they bring in the baby and she sings to the baby tearfully. So sad. It was really sad. Everybody's watching, crying. She tells her baby, she's like, you know, I want you to know that I love you and I'm going to be there for all your milestones. Now, it was notably different from how she's been delusionally saying like, oh yeah, no, we're going to be together and like, I'm going to have this great life. I'm going to get out of here. The tone of what she was saying to the baby was I'm going to be there. She didn't say in spirit, but that was the subtext. Yes. I'll be 100%. There for it all. And I want you to
every
know
milestone.
Yeah. And I want you to,
that she would be there.
Yeah. And she's like, I want you to know that I love you and I always will. And I'll always be there watching you. Yeah, she knows that it's a possibility. She's clinging to the hope that it won't happen, but she knows that it's possible. And so she gives her goodbyes to everybody and they keep trying to convince her to just tell the truth. She keeps saying, no, it's all going to be okay. Watch, it's all going to be okay. At one point, she's like, we're going to have a party at the mansion tonight when I get out of here, when I walk out of here alive. She tells Ethan that Ethan says that they need a miracle and she says to Ethan, it's going to be okay. We just need a miracle. Oh, is that all? Just a little miracle? Oh, let me just whip one up for you. Right. She says, we just need a miracle. Ethan says, not a miracle, just the truth. Now this is the moment where I was like, girl, if you don't say something, because clearly this man
has no, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Doesn't have a clue. He like the fact that he's like, we don't need a miracle, just the truth. And she took that to mean, no, I'm not going to tell the truth. She thinks that he's waiting for her to confess. It's like, if he wanted you to confess in order to save yourself, then he would just confess.
He would just confess. Like, it doesn't, like, for the fact that we are at this point and he hasn't said something, has to hit you in the face and be like, does he's not gonna save me? Like, what?
Yes. And it doesn't hit her until they're pumping her up with drugs.
Yeah.
So she was being, at this point I was like, she's being annoying right now for me, because girl, come on, he's telling you. We don't need a miracle. We just need you to tell the truth.
Right. Like, who
everybody's begging you to tell the truth.
Covering for?
Everybody's begging you to tell the truth, including the person you believe you're covering for. Obviously, y'all have had a miscommunication. Obviously, something has gone wrong. But Theresa doesn't see it that way, because her brain is mush and things are just warped for her. And so the guard comes, tells everybody it's time for them to leave. Father Lonigan comes up basically to give her last rites, and he tells her that she needs to listen to Ethan and tell the truth. He says, you don't have to die tonight if you would just tell the police who killed Julian Crane. She won't do it, obviously. Right. At one point, they think that she's gonna do it. She's like, my baby. And everybody's like, Luis immediately is like, let me call Sam right now, or whoever, the governor right now, and say that you recanted,
Yeah.
But no, she was just like, oh no, I just wanted to hold my baby one last time. And this is when she says the dumb shit about having a party at the mansion tonight.
And Hank is like, yeah, I'll be there. I'm like, Hank, shut up.
Yeah, not like, it was actually,
why are you even here, Hank?
It was kind of sweet, because it was just like, oh, Hank, like, because nobody's on Theresa's side with this. Like, no, of course I wouldn't either. It makes sense. Nobody's like, yeah, Theresa, nobody's humoring her in any way. And Hank is like, yeah, no, I'll be there at the party. Like, but also, Hank, what are you doing here?
Why are you here? You're not related to her at all. You're not related to Julian at all. Like, none of this.
And whose support animal is he? Whose parent is he?
I guess technically, well, you know, if you look at the way Hannah said that Hank is actually in love with Luis, then Hank is there as Luis's support animal as well.
Okay. Well, I'll take that, because I do love
Shout
that,
out to Hannah.
That headcanon is hilarious to me. Okay, so she says to Ethan, before everybody walks away, she says to Ethan, I still know you're gonna come through for me in the end. And then he kisses her again, very passionately. And then they all leave, and Theresa's left alone with Father Lonigan. They rehash the same old. But this time, Father Lonigan tells her, if you go through with this, you're going to spend eternity in hell, because it's tantamount to committing suicide. You're basically killing yourself. It's an interesting tactic. One maybe you should have used sooner. But,
exactly. It's still doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. But to be fair, I don't think it would have even remotely worked even a little. I mean, it doesn't work now, but I don't think it even would have remotely worked earlier than this, because the threat wasn't as great as it is now. But he did tell her she was going to spend all eternity burning in hell. They have a very annoying conversation that I didn't write down. I just wrote that it was an annoying conversation. And then the warden comes in to announce that Theresa is to be put to death. And she does her slow walk down the Green Mile, although it wasn't green. It's like a checkered floor. But
exactly,
she's walking down to the execution chamber. That prisoner who was giving her a hard time just yells out, dead woman walking. Dead woman walking.
And they did the whole production fanfare with the guns and the shackles, and you can hear the chain dragging down the hallway. It was serious. Like, I mean, it is a serious matter. Like, she is on death row. She is walking to her execution. And I was just like, Wow. Like, imagine having to do that walk yourself. Oh, no.
I don't even want to think about it.
I get why she passed out for a second or fell over or went, into the warden's arms, because it hits you like, damn, I'm about to die.
When I tell you it
Hmm.
could never be me, it could never be me.
I know.
It could never be me.
Just trying to.
And another, not to go off on another tangent, but another reason it could never be me, even if I did commit a crime, the way that most people get caught is that they talk. I just would not say anything. Unless if you have the evidence, you got the evidence, and try me. But baby, I won't say. You won't hear a peep out of
Nothing.
me.
Yeah.
You will not hear a peep out of me. I'm not telling on myself. You cannot compel me to tell on myself, and I'm not going to do it. Theresa did so much talking.
Oh Lord, she talked.
So while everybody was like saying goodbye to Theresa and all that was going on, Ivy and Rebecca show up early so that they can get good seats. Yuck. They're both so gross. Ivy is having a slight, truly the slightest. I should not even mention it because it's not enough. Mm-hmm. But a slight crisis of conscience on this, the teeniest, tiniest bit, not enough for her to put a stop to anything.
Right.
But they talk about basically how well planned out their how well their plan worked out, and how Theresa will do anything to protect Ethan. Again, I will say I'm disgusted at Ivy that she can truly see that Theresa in action, right? Theresa loves Ethan, will do truly anything for Ethan, to the point that Ivy says, I wonder if I would even do the same thing for Sam. I can't say I would even do the same thing for Sam, which is correct. No, of course you wouldn't do the same thing for Sam. Bitch, you have 4 children to live for.
Exactly.
But the fact that she even is thinking about it and knows what a huge sacrifice this is for Theresa, and she still has so much deep animosity and hatred for her, even though Theresa loves her son maybe more than she does.
Truthfully.
I'm going to say that. And y'all can feel how you want to feel about it. I think Theresa loves Ethan more than Ivy does.
I agree because I don't know if we know Ivy loves her son, but I don't know if Ivy loves her son to sacrifice herself for that man. I don't think so.
To this extent, I don't think so. I don't think so. So everybody else shows up to the execution. Ethan, he's so stupid. Ethan's like, what's my mother doing here? And Chad, who, again, why is Chad there? I know emotional support, whatever, but Chad? It just keeps getting more and more ridiculous with the people who show up for this execution. Yeah. Chad says to him, I'll give you 3 guesses, right? And Ethan's like, well, I'm going to have a talk with her. I'm going to have words with her. Shut up, sit down. Shut up and sit down. And then we get in the very next episode, we get this announcement because we pick up in Theresa's execution, and we get this announcement. The role of Ethan is now being played by Eric Martsolf. So we got Eric.
Eric in the house. Hey, Eric in the house. Hey.
I'm so excited because I love Eric as Ethan. I almost wore my Ethan and Theresa shirt, but this is really a Theresa day. Yeah. But yeah, I love Eric as Ethan. He's way hotter, and
he's so hot, and he plays Ethan in a more mature way. The stupidness of Ethan, the dumb stuff, it's still there, but we get way less of it with this Ethan. Yeah. With Eric playing Ethan.
This Ethan, Eric plays it very, to me, it is mature, but there's also just a sprinkle of fuckboy, right? He's just yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we got Eric. Yay! So everybody's sitting in the room waiting for the execution to begin. We've got a little countdown clock. Let me just say that Ivy and Rebecca showed up for the execution 30 minutes early, and everybody else showed up at 8 minutes till. So they're just sitting there waiting. for a little while, and then even TC show up, and as soon as they get in there, TC's like, Whitney shouldn't be here. And I thought, why are you there?
Why are you here? Why are you here? Why?
Whitney shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here.
Literally.
And I do agree, like, to an extent. Like, I get him being like, Whitney shouldn't have to witness this. Truthfully, nobody should have to witness this. I can't say that I would want to watch anybody's execution. I think that's just weird. I think it's just weird. I think it's just odd. I understand that there have to be witnesses to it, but I feel like the witnesses could be the cops or whoever is like working in the prison. I guess I understand families wanting to be, why some people might want to be there, but I can say with like 100% certainty, I would not want to watch a family member of mine be put to death. I don't want to see. That's going to haunt you for the rest of your days.
Forever. Exactly. That's the last memory you have of them.
That's not the last memory I want. I didn't even go see my brother's body. I didn't want to see it. I didn't see my sister. I didn't want to see it. I want to remember them the way I want to remember them. So
yeah.
Sorry. Now I'm emotional.
You're good. You're good.
I told you I'm such a crybaby too, though. Like, this all made me very emotional. Because it was just so sad.
It was really sad.
And it was all very somber.
A young woman is literally going to die because she loves somebody so damn much and cannot fathom, like, saying, no, I did not do this. Like, literally is giving up her life for somebody else.
Yeah. So,
I mean, this is, you know what? This is why, like, none of us are Jesus. Because Jesus, the Lord, he gave up his life for all of us. And they're the good, the bad, the ugly, the murderers, everybody. And I couldn't do it.
I tell people all the time. Like, I'm not particularly religious, right? But I did grow up in the church. And I tell people all the time, like, when it comes to like my student loans or like my credit card debt, Jesus paid it all. Jesus paid it all. Fed loan, you're not gonna see it.
Yep.
But anyway, you're right. It's a good thing we're not all Jesus. But Theresa is like doing her little Jesus thing, and honestly, she basically is about to do like a Jesus thing because they're gonna basically put her to death. But we know Theresa does not die here. For anybody who is thinking that she might die here because y'all have never seen the show. I'm going to spoil it for you, even though I just don't think it's that much of a spoiler because, like, even if you've never seen the show, it's not that kind of show. Like, it's not Game of Thrones where they kill off any and everybody and nobody's safe. Like, Theresa Lopez Fitzgerald is a major part of this show. They're not going to kill her off.
Yes.
But they do pump her up, right? So
she gonna die,
right? She
is gonna die.
Yeah, but she, like Lazarus, or like Jesus
from the grave,
like Jesus. So
somebody took some inspiration from the Bible, I swear, for this.
Oh story. Yeah, no, I think that James Riley, I from what I can tell and what I know, based on his time on Days of Our Lives and like how this show is set up, I think he was really interested in, even though he writes it all weird and wrong and wonky, but in like the church and like the occult and how it crosses into like the teachings in the church and like demons and angels, and it's very clear that he enjoyed telling a story about like good versus evil in the biblical type of way, right? Yeah. So anyway, speaking of good versus evil, Luis notices Alistair like lurking in a doorway. And it's just Alistair's like hand with a cigar coming through, and Luis like rushes to the door and like pushes him and slams the door. It's like, what are you doing here? Get the hell out of here. He's like, he's just here to see my family suffer more. there's some stuff that happens with Rebecca and Ivy. They have tiny little conversations through all this. But the most important one is that Rebecca leans over, says to Ivy, "Oh, Alistair must hate Theresa more than we do." And Ivy says, "Yeah, the only way this execution can be stopped now is if anyone else saw Julian wrestling on TV like we did. Because they know Julian is alive." Which, again, I will say, Rebecca doing this, even though she knows Julian's still alive. Okay. Ivy, I just hate what they've done to Ivy. I hate what they've done to Ivy. As much as I've given Ivy flack about being kind of like, not the best, not the nicest person, not a good friend to Pilar, and like being so selfish when it comes to Sam and not caring about her other 3 kids out, and only caring about Ethan. I've given her a lot of shit about that stuff, but I never thought that Ivy was like heartless, soulless, sociopathic, right? Like this is psychopath behavior. It's psychopath behavior. So I don't know. I don't love it. And again, they're showing Kim, the actress, is playing Ivy less like maniacally evil in these episodes.
Yeah. And
so it's giving that she has a little bit of remorse about it, but again, not enough.
Right.
So Theresa Theresa comes into the chamber, and they strap her to the gurney, and then they lift her up, and then they reveal her to the viewing room, and they say that she is entitled to say her last words. And Maria, thank you, Maria. I know we've talked about Maria a lot this episode, but thank you, Maria. Maria told me that there are transcripts of all the episodes online.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, I just Googled it. I found them. And I found the transcript for this particular episode because I wanted the exact speech, and it was kind of long, and it was going to take me some time. So here is Theresa's speech. Okay. She says, first she says, she's like, I'm supposed to use this time to say my goodbye, but I'm not going to say goodbye because this is the end. And here's where the quote starts, or because this is not the end. And this is where the quote starts. She says, "I still believe in miracles, and there is no way I was put on this earth to die this young. So instead of saying goodbye, I want to say thank you." I was like, okay, I love the speech. "I want to thank you for giving me the best day I don't know what the words are, of my life," whatever the words are. But anyway, she just want to thank you. She says, "Thank you for caring enough about me to want to be here. I think of it as a show of support, and it means a lot to me. I want you to know that I love you all very much. Well, most of you. See, I know Ivy and Rebecca don't care about me. They only came here to gloat because they think I'm going to die. But guess what, ladies? You're in for a big disappointment because I'm leaving here alive today, and I'm going to be back in the mansion tonight, my mansion." She goes on to say, because we get a few little interludes of people like, what is she talking about? And then she goes, "I've always believed that love is the most important thing in this world, and I still believe that. Sometimes it means you have to do hard things, like make sacrifices." It was a good speech.
It was great.
It was a good speech. Ivy again is like feeling a little bad for Theresa. And Rebecca's like, "You feel sorry for Theresa?" And Ivy says, "It's just that we know what everyone else doesn't, that Theresa is giving up her life because she thinks it will save Ethan. I wonder if I'd be brave enough to do that for Sam." And Rebecca says, "Well, if you did, you'd be as big of a fool as she is. She may not believe it, but in a few minutes, Theresa is going to be saying bye-bye for good." You would be as big of a fool as she is if you did the same thing that she's doing. She's a fool for this. She's a fool. Fool. I pity the fool. So um, after Theresa gives her speech, it's time, and then the phone rings, like the governor's calling, and Teresa's like, "I knew it." She thinks that she, has gotten a reprieve, but it's a fake out. The governor just wanted to know that it was done, if it was done yet. Teresa's like still in denial as they're actively pumping poison into her. She's like, in her head, she's thinking like, "I know you'd never let me die, Ethan, but why aren't you doing something?" And then she starts to think, wait, what if he's not gonna save me? What if I really am going to die? And she's thinking that, but then she screams out loud, "No, I don't want to die. Please don't let me die. Somebody don't let me die." Oh God, it was so hard. Oh, my baby.
Oh Lord, that was painful. That was painful.
Especially since we didn't have to do this. This was so unnecessary.
It was very unnecessary.
So unnecessary. So,
what was interesting too was like Eve was explaining what was happening.
Thank you.
And it made me cackle too, because I was like, "Eve, since when? Oh, so you're a death row doctor too?"
No,
that's another notch on the end of your.
Truthfully, if I'm being 100% honest, I was surprised that she wasn't administering the drugs. I was like, yeah, they're gonna have Eve come in and do it as like a courtesy to Theresa, that she'll at least have someone there who knows her. Like they'll find a way to get Eve in that room, delivering the sedative.
Something to quiet your nerves.
Yeah, I just knew they were gonna get her in that room.
Oh God.
And it was funny because she was like, they're gonna administer 3 drugs. The first one will put her to sleep.
You want to sedative to quiet your nerves.
The second one will stop her breathing, and the third one will stop her heart. I was like, yeah, you know something. You know a little something about that first one, don't you?
Yeah.
And probably the second and third ones, if we're being honest. But yeah, that's where we ended this week. You have anything else to add before we move on to magic?
No, there was like something that happened, but we'll get to it when we're in magic. So it's
with like Zombie and Miguel.
Yeah, with Zombie and Miguel. Yeah.
Well, I hope you took the note. You bring it up, because I swear to God, I barely took notes through this. So now we're moving on to magic. And there's not like a ton here, so this won't take much longer. We're almost done here, folks. I know it's been a minute. I've been talking for a minute. So we pick up this week, and Julian and Timmy are still at this like wrestling match. And Julian is wrestling against
CEO.
as the masked CEO, and basically tiny little Don King. And Julian's wrestling against Big Dog, and she is whooping his ass. Okay. Tammy's just watching from the sides. And Julian like tries to crawl away and tries to quit the match, but Big Dog just keeps like pulling him back into the ring. And then Timmy jumps in and bites Big Dog. And so the ref is like, well, this wasn't supposed to be a tag team match, but now it is. Run it up. And so they decide to just like run for their lives. They run out of the wrestling ring and run out of the arena. And then they find themselves in Deliverance country. I was like immediately they were in like the hills of like Georgia, and dueling banjos start to play, ding 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 ding. So when you hear that, that's Deliverance, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say this: I have never seen Deliverance. I've only read the synopsis of Deliverance because somebody like referenced it in something, so I like looked it up, and you know how you do, you go down the little rabbit hole. So I read the synopsis, and the synopsis was enough, like disturbing enough for me to be like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this.
Right.
I get the gist. I know what it's about. So if you know what Deliverance is about, they make a lot of Deliverance jokes in this portion of it, and it was, to me, like deeply distasteful. I was like, because basically, if you don't know what Deliverance is about, look it up. But one of like the big plot points is like these guys get lost in the woods, and they basically get like captured by these horrible hillbillies who basically torture them. It's like sexually. And so yeah, it's like, it's just very disturbing, right? And they make a lot of jokes and do a lot of like wink wink nod,
right,
specifically to like the rape portion of Deliverance, and it just made me really uncomfortable. I didn't like it.
It was not comfy.
No, it was real gross. So anyway, they show up to this like shack. A child answers the door with a shotgun, and then they're allowed to like go sleep in the barn. So they go sleep in the barn. They wake up in the morning, and this old man, I called him Grandpa Clampett in my notes. They don't really give him a name. So I named him Grandpa Clampett. He invites them to come to the house for breakfast, but he also is like heavily like flirting with Julian and telling Julian like, "Oh, you're good looking. You're so purty."
He said something. She's like, "You look even better than you did last night."
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And so Julian actually points out to Timmy like, "Oh, good God, we're in Deliverance." And Timmy doesn't know what that means. He's like, okay, well, Timmy's gonna go get breakfast. So they go to get breakfast. Julian sees the paper with the news of Theresa's execution being today, and he's like, great, once Theresa's dead, I can get back to Harmony, but I can't go back until she's dead. But it's like, she's in custody. Oh wait, they wouldn't kill her.
They wouldn't kill her. Yeah,
they wouldn't kill her. I'm sorry.
If he went back, she would not die.
Yeah, because she's going to be killed for his murder, right? So anyway, he's like, I can't go back until she's dead. Then a bunch of kids run in, and they sing "Food, Glory is Food" from Oliver. I'm sorry. The Wizard of Oz stuff was really doing it for me. This is not doing it for me. So if you liked it, I'm very sorry, but I'm gonna give you a real half-ass, half-ass like recap.
My notes on this section are like this big.
Yeah. The kids come running in. Then Timmy, this is important. Timmy tells the grandpa about what they're out there searching for, why they're there. He's on this quest to save his sweet, sweet Charity, and he needs the demon horn. And Grandpa Clammett's like, the demon horn? Why didn't you just say so? I can take you to that right now. And skip. They go out to the forest. They go out to the forest.
Themselves in the forest in this nice big leaf pile, and the grandpa standing all the way on the other side.
And he snares them. He ensnares them in a trap. He like pulls this giant rope, and a cage just comes up around them and traps them in the forest. And he's like, I'm gonna go get the boys, and I'll be back for you, purty boys. And it was even more sinister because it's not just Julian, it's Timmy too.
Me too, yeah.
Oh my God. I was just so disgusted. I was just like, ugh, why? Like, it's not funny to me. It's not funny. And so meanwhile, let's talk about what's going on with Zombie, Charity, and Tabitha. Zombie, Charity, and Tabitha go into the cave where real Charity's on ice, but she's melting, and Zombie like says a spell to try to stop the ice from melting, but it doesn't work. It just keeps melting more and more. Zombie then says like, this is all Timmy's fault. I'm gonna kill that little imp. And she's like, Charity must be melting because Timmy is getting close to the demon horn. That's like that's the thinking. That's what we're meant to believe, I guess. Tabitha tells her, if you are looking for somebody to blame for your failure to like kill Miguel, or for your failure in this situation, you can look no further than the mirror, Miss Missy. She's like, if you hadn't failed to seduce Miguel, like none of this would be happening, right? Like this wouldn't even be it would be a moot point. She has a point, honestly. She's like, and I've been saying it, that this zombie she's less effective somehow than Tabitha was.
Right.
She's less effective. She's less effective than Tabitha was, and Tabitha didn't even have her powers. Like Tabitha was more effective without her powers than this zombie Charity is with Tabitha's powers.
Right.
So we should just stab Caesar. Like we should just get rid of her. I'm so sick of her. I'm so sick of her.
It was so much more fun like before. Now I'm just like,
it was fun when I needed a break from real Charity.
Right.
But it's been like a year. It's been like a year of episodes. We've been doing this for a long time. Yep. And she hasn't done anything. She hasn't gotten anything done. She hasn't accomplished shit.
No, all she's accomplished is getting Miguel to be like, something's wrong with you. That's about it.
She hasn't really accomplished anything. Because, I mean, it was Kay who put Charity on ice in the first place. So she didn't even do that.
Right.
Like the best she's done as far as bringing pain and suffering to Harmony is like the demon plot that she did with Theresa when she was like pretending to be Julian or whatever in hell. Yeah. But honestly,
that didn't really help her.
Yeah, and also Theresa is doing a better job at creating pain and suffering for herself than Zombie Charity ever did. Right? Like, I don't know. So anyway, Tabitha tells her, look in the mirror, bitch. It's you. You're the problem. You're the problem. It's you. Hi. You're the problem. It's you. So then Zombie zaps them back into the Bennett home, and because she's gonna seduce Miguel on the day of his sister's execution, whatever, who cares? She's not gonna do it. It's not gonna work.
Well, what's funny too, like Miguel, like Charity gets to the house and like Miguel's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, and she tells Miguel she's sorry that she wasn't there, right? And Miguel's like, he's sorry, and she's like, for what? And he's like, because I can't focus on us. Excuse me, Miguel, are you kidding me? Why are you apologizing to this girl about not being able to sleep with her while your sister's about to get injected with drugs and die?
Yeah.
Be killed.
Yeah.
And you're
ridiculous.
Like,
he sucks. Miguel sucks. He's so lame. But I don't want to see him die, mainly because of Pilar.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she also has been through enough. Pilar has been through enough. My God.
That woman has.
So yeah, they go back to the Bennett home. What were we gonna say?
No, I was gonna say at the end of the day too, I'm like, you know how like Ethan was like asking, he's like, what have we ever done? Like, what has this family ever done? Like Luis is saying, like, what has this family ever done? I'm like, literally, Pilar is the one who is suffering the most from all of these losses in her family. I'm like, Alistair, literally, what did this woman do to you? Like, she was working inside your house for how many years? Like, what? Yeah. What happened?
Yeah. She didn't iron his shirts good enough at some point.
Something.
Like, and so he decided to like exact this insane revenge on her, this decades long revenge on Pilar specifically.
Literally, because it's like took her husband.
I mean, we know what Alistair's like beef is, right? Like we know it does. For anybody listening who doesn't know, it does come up. I'm not gonna tell y'all what it is, because it is like that is a major. It's a spoiler.
Huge point,
but we do find out why Alistair has such beef with the Lopez Fitzgeralds.
Yeah.
So anyway, but not with Pilar. It's like you're only hurting. The person you're trying to hurt, you can't actually hurt.
You can't even hurt them. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway, what's going on with these people? Whatever. Zombie Charity is like, I'm going to make a potion to imbue me with the essence of charity. She goes up, she does some Frankenstein shit. And then she's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. I've done it. I've distilled the essence of charity. This was stupid. I don't get it. It was a locket. It's a necklace. She puts it on. She says, once I put this on, Miguel won't be able to resist me. He already has no clue that you're not the real Charity.
Exactly.
So whatever. Stupid plot point. Right. Tabitha is worried about Timmy. She's searching for answers in the scroll. The scroll shows her tomorrow's newspaper, which has the headline that Theresa has been executed. And it also has a smaller story about local nephew, like local woman's nephew, feared dead, lost in the woods, feared dead. And she's like, oh no, Timmy. And then she sees a vision on the scroll of Timmy and Julian trapped inside that cage. Miguel's so Zombie Charity goes to the execution to like be there for Miguel, but Miguel like sends her packing. He was
like, you don't need to be here.
Yeah, actually, one modicum of sense from Miguel, from somebody. Yeah, the one person in town who can't be at the who somebody's like, you shouldn't be here.
Right.
What, you have no business here. No, honestly, he's like, his reasoning was that she's been through too much already, and he doesn't want her to have to witness this. I think that's beautiful. Like, yeah, don't feel like you have to be here for me. This is gonna be horrible, and like, if I can spare you from having to watch another person's execution, I'm gonna do that. And so yeah, he tells her she can hit the road, Jack, but when Kay's like, well, I'm gonna stay here for you, Miguel, and he's like, okay, whatever you want.
Right.
I think he says, do whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay, whatever. It is what it is. I'll be inside.
Basically. So once he sends her packing, she goes back to like wanting to kill Timmy for whatever reason. So she goes back to Tabitha's house and she starts casting a spell against Timmy. I didn't write it down because I didn't really care, because nothing's gonna come of it. When she starts to cast the spell though, Tabitha like bonks her on the head. She tries to knock her out, but it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. Right. But I was like, all right, I don't mind watching that girl get hit on the head. I don't. But then we see like a vision on the scroll of Charity breaking through the ice. So then Zombie's like, oh, I have to cast the spell. And she casts the spell to do in Timmy. And then the ground begins to shake beneath Timmy and Julian, who are inside that cage in the woods. Something about a snake. Was it a snake? I couldn't figure out what this creature was, but it was like under the ground, and that's what was causing the ground to shake. Toto comes in, saves them by bringing the keys so they can get out. That thing continues chasing them underground. Then Timmy is like, I think I found the demon horn. He starts to like dig. And that's like where we ended this week.
Right.
You got anything to add?
Nah, it was just foolishness.
From top to bottom. From top to bottom, foolishness on everybody's part.
Everybody.
Every single person. So
I just can't believe we're finally at this like point in the storyline. Like, we're finally here, and it's the next, like, I swear 15 episodes are going to be fun.
We have truly hit like peak Passions, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've really hit when Passions was like at its most popular, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like a time leading up to this where people were finding it, and then it was like, this was like the summer when a lot of people found it and started watching it, and then we get like a year and a half of like high popularity, and then it starts to kind of wane because it just gets weird.
It gets insane. It gets so insane, and you're just like, what?
Yeah. So anyway, that's it, y'all. Uche, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Happily Ever Uche. I talk a lot about Disney and traveling and all types of things on there. So it's fun.
All right. I'll link that in the description, and you can find me on the Patreon, on the Discord. I'm going to, in the new year, I can't, with the holidays and everything, I'm already kind of drowning. But in the new year, I have resolved to get back onto the social media and get back to posting again more. Okay. So if you know, it's Passions Podcast, just search it on any site and you'll find it, or any platform. That's what it is. Yep. And you'll find it and follow us. Blue Sky. I just got a Blue Sky because I'm getting. I'm going to delete the Twitter page. Mm-hmm. I never use it anyway, and like the app, I never did update it to like X or whatever, so it like doesn't even work anymore. And truthfully, I'm telling y'all, I don't care. Like, feel how the fuck y'all want to feel about me. I do not care. I refuse to support anything Elon Musk does. Same. So I will be deleting the Passions Twitter page, and it's still up right now because I honestly don't know if I can even get to it. I probably have to do it through my computer,
through the website. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, check me out on Blue Sky because I already have I already made a page on Blue Sky. So and by the time this comes out, I will have posted something.
Yay.
All right, so with that, you are my passion for life.